Well, good morning everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and it is a very cloudy 6 degrees here in southern British Columbia, and that would make it 43 in the north part of Washington State. And I wanted to let you know the lipstick is Rimmel In Vogue number 38. Which is totally new to me. I must admit that you guys are really inspiring me to step outside my usual comfort zone of either pink or orange as far as lipsticks go. And so this color is way darker than I would usually go for, and it is matte. And so therefore 2 steps out of my comfort zone. But it really is quite a beautiful color, I thought, if you happen to go for dark colors, which I'm trying to learn. I thank you for the feedback about the, for those of you who answered my Twitter, this is twice that I've gone out to buy shampoo. And both times I've had the shampoo bottle in my hand and then seen a better deal. I think that's what happens to me. I see a better deal for a shampoo close to it, and I pick it up, only to find out that I've picked up the conditioner and not the shampoo. So I am now the collector of jumbo-sized conditioner bottles. Very, very funny. And some of you were kind enough to let me know that I wasn't the only person that does things like that. So I am really, really delighted. We're just like, duh. Once, maybe. Twice, not so much. And I was so careful the second time, and the same thing happened. I can see it. Exactly the same thing happened at the last moment. I saw, oh, if I buy that size, it's that much better. Except it wasn't, because it wasn't shampoo, it was conditioner. I wonder how much conditioner they sell that way. Alright, now we've been having a little chat this week, and I didn't really know why, about stress. And I started telling you about what happened to me at the weekend and how I chose not to dwell on it too much. Now, I can't tell you that it hasn't popped into my mind once or twice this week. But I think it was a precursor, as they call it, a run-in to what was going to happen yesterday. Well, you're wondering what did happen yesterday. So, yep. So I'm at work. And I'm busy training a young person that's co-opting with us for 3 weeks. And he's, bless his heart, he's a 17-year-old who's thinking about maybe going into law. So I'm busy putting him through all sorts of stuff. And this is his first week, and he's doing really, really well. So, but you can imagine that trying to train somebody while you're trying to do your real job is time-consuming, unless you do it in such a way that it actually makes it better. I work on the principle that 2 of us should be able to do one job as well as do the training. And that's how I do stuff. So anyway, I'm busy training the young person, and the phone goes. And it's my tenant. Now, my tenant never phones me at work. So immediately there's a uh-oh. So I think it, my automatic thought was, it's about Bina. And the first thing she said is, because she really knows me very well, Sal, this is not about Bina. So I go, okay, thank you. And for those of you who don't know, Bina is my dog, who's not doing very well. And so I said, okay, what is this about then? She said, the sewer backs up into the furnace room. And this is just like my heart dropped. This happens every couple of years. And it has something to do with the bad way in which they built my house. And so I just went, no problem. She said, I'll get Wade to call Roto-Rooter. Now Wade is at home, so that makes it easier for him. So we called the Roto-Rooter people, and then they eventually called me back and said I had two choices, basically. Well, I had actually, they managed to give me two quotes. One was, if it was the easy way, it would only cost me $500, and if it got more complicated, then it would probably cost me about $750. Now, some of you are probably doing what a lot of people will do, which is, really, out of nowhere. And I just went, okay, do whatever has to be done. And eventually the guy phoned me and told me a number of things that really aren't interesting to the process here, but complicated. That basically he'd fixed the immediate problem, but there was an underlying problem that probably needed to get fixed, which would include, breaking through cement and pulling up a pipe, and oh gosh, a nightmare. So the guy said to me, but I can't carry on with this work unless you give me a credit card number. So I said, why? Isn't cash good enough? And he said, what? I said, isn't cash good enough? Is that why you need a credit card? And he said, no, cash is fine. I said, fine, then somebody in the house will give you the cash. Now, you're probably wondering, what am I doing with $500 cash and change in my house? Well, I know this sounds strange, but I have that money in the house always, or try to, for emergency money. The very thing that happened is why I have that money in the house. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and I hope that you can actually see. It's a little bit of a rainy afternoon, and it's unusual for me to be broadcasting on the way home, and that would be because there was a major doofus this morning, as you probably have already realized, because I started in sunshine and now it's in rain. I'm not quite sure at what point in the broadcast my camera ran out of space. It wasn't battery, it was space. I clean forgot to empty my camera last night. I need to do that about once a month. It's amazing actually how much it holds. But if you can imagine that I'm doing a broadcast every day of roughly half an hour, and so it stores about 6 hours worth, but eventually it does fill up, and it did this morning. But that was not before I had got nearly all the way to work, and then I looked at the camera and I went, oh, it's not on. So you know that I have no idea where to pick up the story. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start the story all over again as best I can, and I'll cut and paste where necessary. And he said, oh. So why was it a stressless thing? I mean, it was very stressful to hear that black water's backing up, of course. But it's happened before, so I knew what was going on, and I knew what needed to be done because we've had it happen before. Now, we also heard from the Roto-Rooter guy that part of the reason is there's a piece of cement sitting in that pipe. Now, for all we know, that piece of cement's been sitting there for 20 years or 25 years, however old the house is. And, I can sit and mutter and grunt and say, how dare they do that, and da-da-da. It's not going to change the fact there's a piece of cement sitting in the pipe. Do you get my drift? I can sit and bash my head against the wall. It's not going to move the piece of concrete in the pipe. So there's no point getting all upset about it. It's not going to change anything. It's still going to be, after I've cried and how unfair is that and all that, it's still going to have a piece of concrete in the pipe. And I understand that. So therefore, I look at it and go, okay, fine. What are our choices? Our choices are that we actually break through the concrete, cut out that section of pipe, cut out the section of pipe and replace it, and maybe not have any more problems. Or know that every couple of years we are going to have this problem, and maybe do extra back flushing and all sorts of things to help minimize this problem, now that we really know what's causing the issue. Or we find some gizmo that will cut through concrete, but maybe it'll also cut through the pipe, so you've got to be a bit careful about that, with my luck. And that's a discussion I'm going to have with my neighbor, who's quite a smart guy, and I'll send him on a little research mission to say, go see if we can hire ourselves a doodad that will cut through cement, because if so, it'd have to be a diamond something or other, I would imagine, a diamond bitted thing. But also we got to decide, what are the risk management issues about it actually going through the pipe as well, if we're not careful. So, 3 different options. Now, if we leave it there, I now know about the problem, and I now know what's causing it, which I haven't known before, which means if I sell the house, I've got to mention it as well. That somewhere along this pipe we believe there is a slight blockage, and we'd really recommend that you do X, Y, and Z so that you don't have to call Roto-Rooter too often. And, it's how you say it to somebody. If you go, just occasionally, it could happen, unless you do this, and this pretty regularly. Most people will just go, okay, fine. They won't do it, by the way. They'll forget. But the good news is, if it ever backs up, they can't turn around and say, you didn't tell us. So that's why you have to declare it when you sell the house, and make sure you declare it on paper, and signed, and keep a copy. Then there is no backlash on it, that you were advised, you knew about it. So the whole point of this story is, I went home and Laurie said to me, why aren't you pulling your hair out? Why aren't you stressed out? I said, it's fixed. Yeah, but what about da-da-da-da-da-da? Okay, no, it's fixed. It's done. It's over. And I said, the only stress that I have is it just took $500 out of my holiday fund for when my brother comes. That's the only stress, if I want it to be. So I have a choice. Not take my brother to any fancy restaurants while he's there, and feed him baked beans on toast or something, while we're camping. or take a bit of more money out of my savings account and top up the holiday fund. But you see, it's not excessively stressful because I was ready for an emergency. And that's my question to all of you. Are you ready for an emergency? Now, I'm not really good about this because ideally they say that you should have at least 3 months of living expenses stashed away for an emergency fund. It's money you can get to in a hurry. In other words, not tied up in some savings program that you have to wait 9 months before you can clear it, or a year or something. You need money put away that you can get to in a hurry, and they recommend that you have at least 3 months worth. Now, I must admit, I don't hold quite that much. But that is what they recommend. But I certainly do have, heavy overdraft ability. I also have 2 lines of credit, which I could push if I needed to. You know what I mean? I got plenty of room on them if I needed something like that. And why have I got those things? Because I'm a homeowner. And so I go back to this whole thing. If you ever can own something, do it. I don't care if it's a tiny little studio apartment. You can own something, do it. And I know there are going to be times when you really struggle to keep it. But you'll be amazed what that does for your ability to borrow money and to have some sort of say in what's going on. And I'm hoping that this whole experience that I had yesterday makes some sense to you. Some sense in terms of, what if I hadn't had $500 available? What if this had happened? Or what if the car had broken down and I didn't have... I've got a car that, every time it coughs, it's going to need $500 to $1,000 to fix it. I don't think I've ever taken my car for repair that it's cost me less than $500 to $1,000. Because I don't take it, because I service it regularly and do all sorts of things, I don't have very many things go wrong. But when they do, it's normally going to be a pretty big thing. So, if you have this emergency fund sitting somewhere, even if it's half the amount of money that you need, at least half the stress is gone because you've only got to find the other half. And that's the whole thing I wanted to just encourage you to do. Well, then, of course, I drive all the way to work talking all about this as I was this morning. By the way, I was a lot funnier this morning when I did it because I wasn't as tired. But then I looked and saw that, the camera had stopped. And again, I have no idea. So you might get half the story on the way to work this morning and half the story on the way back. But then when the camera went dead on me, instead of going, and muttering and grunting and, oh, what a waste of time, and I went, wow, thank goodness for that. And you're probably wondering why. Well, it's just in case things go in threes. I had the speech thing at the weekend, and then this thing yesterday, and now the camera stopped. I reckon that's 3. I'm done. Don't want any more. Thank you. Can I have some peace and quiet now? Had enough drama for 1 week. I don't live on drama anymore. It doesn't amuse me. I got to tell you a nice story. I've got this young person that that's come to see what it's like to work in our office. And one of the things I was surprised about, that at school they don't teach them Excel. And I said, you know, really, I'm amazed at that, because everybody in business uses Excel. And you know, they teach them Word, but they don't teach them Excel. And so I was showing him some of the ways in which I use Excel. I do a lot of work in Excel. I create a lot of programs, I create a lot of graphs, I create a lot of things using the Excel program. So I basically showed him how it works and how it does things. And then I said, well, actually, this is absolutely useless to you unless you happen to have some statistics that you'd like to play with. And of course, he's a hockey fan, so I said, did you ever wish that you could do a lot of calculations on the hockey stats? And he said, yeah. I said, good. So here's your task before, you know, because he's with me for another 2 weeks. I said, before you leave, I'd like to see some stats that you've calculated using Excel, and I'd like to see a graph of those stats, please. And I said, if you don't know how to do anything, feel free to phone me at home. Or, I said, you know, YouTube probably can tell you everything you need to know today. Well, you know how excited he was. And the trick is, of course, to give him something to do that is of value to him. By the time he's done that, he will have learnt how to do averages and how to do graphs on Excel. I also taught him how to add, how to multiply, how to do stuff like that. So the main thing is, by the time, I'm pretty sure that Monday morning there'll be a graph on my desk. I'd be very surprised if there isn't, because it's a fun thing. And I was saying that I can always remember when I first met Laurie, she was very new to using a mouse. And I was spending a lot of time away on tour, speaking. And so what I said to her was, okay, fine, I need you to know that while I'm away, part of your job is to play Tetris. She said, what? I said, part of your job is to play Tetris for at least an hour a day. She said, you're joking, right? No, I'm not joking. Part of your job is to play Tetris for at least an hour a day. And the reason was because I knew if she played Tetris, she'd get really good mouse skills. Because, you know, Tetris, you had to keep turning things over and doing stuff. And, you know, it was like the game to play in those days. Like Rubik's Cube was 10 years before that. So, anyway, well, she became very good at it, unfortunately. So, but the thing was, by the time she had done it, by the time she became very good at it, you understand, she knew how to use a mouse effectively. And she was doing it without even thinking, because that's what she ended up doing, playing the game. So I'm a great believer in that. If you want to teach something to somebody, give them something fun to do where they have to use that skill. And if you give them something fun to do where they can use that skill, then they will learn it very, very quickly. What we do all too often is we make learning a negative instead of a positive. So I am pretty sure that I will have a graph on probably there'll be a graph on my desk tomorrow, quite honestly. Probably spend half the night doing it. I'll let you know. I'll ask him. Really, what a day, what a week. And aren't I lucky? Aren't I lucky? Or did I create my own luck? Did I create my lack of stress rather than... Again, I ask, is it all in how you process it, how you prepare, how you manage your life? We're coming up to another weekend. Will I bother to spend some hours doing the next part of the spring cleaning? Yes. I'm going to do that. And I know at least one person is asking themselves whether they've got the motivation to do it. Well, I got news for you. I can support it, but I can't force you to do it. But I will tell you one thing, when you do it, the reward is unbelievable. I still am in shock at how much I got done last weekend. In shock. And what a difference it made to my house. And you'll be pleased to know that I'm still steadily working every night, just doing a little bit of paperwork. I sit on my bed whilst the vlog is uploading, and I take a shoebox full of papers. That's all I have to do, a shoebox a night, and I start working through them. And if I just keep doing that, by the end of next week I think I'll be through them all. And boy, that's going to feel good. And if I do that, then all I will have left is one box of clothes that basically need to be thrown in a plastic bag and donated. And that gets rid of that. And then everything is off the floor. Now, I could go mad and start emptying the cupboards out, repainting them inside, which they need, and then throwing away half the stuff in there. But I don't think I'm going to concentrate on that next. The next thing I'm going to concentrate is clearing out my back room. Something I've been promising myself to do for a year, and I'm going to get it done before my brother arrives, one way or the other. Because I'm on a mission now. So I'm really looking forward to the fact that any minute now I'm going to find out how much of this video was on the way to work and how much isn't. And I'm hoping that you guys will laugh a lot when you find out what happened to me. You've got to admit, if nothing else, I am surely consistent. I am a regular doofus, not an occasional one. And I'm quite happy with that. You know what I mean? It's funny because I think so many people are so scared of making a fool of themselves, and it's quite honestly, it's just a way of life for me. And I think that makes me human, and it certainly doesn't make me perfect, but I really don't mind. You know, it's not... if I waited to be perfect, there's so many things I wouldn't do. Ooh. The neighbor's got a lot of wood going. He's building himself a whole new driveway, and that driveway winds all the way round the side of his house and to the back of the house and connects up with the dirty great patio that he's putting down. And it's all going to be one continuous flowing thing. Wow. That must be awesome. All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, whatever, until we meet again. This is DearMamaSal saying, you know who the doofus is. Bye for now.